Hello, this is Blaine Bridges from Pop Philosophy. I want to make a short video about a recent conversation I was having with a student who was in the middle of reading a mystery book. And I asked him, "Why is it that you find this book so compelling?" And he looked me in the eye and he said, "Because at the end of every chapter there is this cliffhanger, and I simply have to know what happens next." I parted ways with the student, and for a while I was contemplating deeply the answer that he gave me. There is something in this text, something that he didn't know, and that lack of knowledge compelled him to keep reading. Let's say the book was 300 pages, and after reading every 10 pages, say after every 10 pages a new chapter began, he had to discover what was next, because there was an event in the story which was unresolved, a reality in the mystery that he didn't understand. So, we're presented with this somewhat fascinating phenomenon that we find mysteries compelling because we want to discover something we don't know. We are compelled to project ourselves onto the characters in these stories and endure the trials and tribulations that they go through with them, simply for the sake of unveiling the mystery that will cause all of the confusion that the plot created to become resolved and clear. I want to think deeply about the implications of this, because I think it reveals something deep within ourselves, in our secret hearts, that may not be immediately conscious to us. We are compelled, perhaps by forces that we can never understand, to discover the truth. Aristotle says something rather remarkable at the beginning of his book, Metaphysica. It's the very first line. He says this: "All men, by their nature, desire to know." Now that is an incredibly tantalizing statement. And as we contemplate it, I think we discover that indeed it is true. We want to know. Well, what do we want to know? Perhaps we want to know everything. But what we see when we're confronted with a mystery in a novel or in a movie is that we cannot put the book down or stop watching the program until we know the truth. And I just want to think about this for a minute, and I want you to ask yourself, why is it that we are compelled to know the truth? Truth, it's just this kind of abstract idea, right? And yet it seems to be one of the few true objects of our will. We don't want to possess something simply for its own sake, but because what it reveals about the nature of reality. We don't want to read the next page of a mystery book simply to read the next page of a mystery book, but because of the revelation that is potentially contained within it. And that is what we find so compelling about it. I asked earlier why this is. And I want to conduct a little bit of a thought experiment with you. Now, imagine for a moment that you have a friend who has recently stopped talking to you. Your friend will not answer your phone calls. He won't return your text. Perhaps you see him in the street and he turns his face from you, acts like he doesn't know you. He acts as though you're a stranger to him. Would we be able to move on without discovering why our friend stopped talking to us? If we weren't able to discover why, would it not be the case that the mystery of his lack of communication would haunt us, perhaps for the rest of our lives? Indeed, it would. What would compel us to seek out the answer for our friend's rejection of us? Well, imagine for a moment that at last we get in contact with our friend, and he confides in us, "You have said and done something that has deeply wounded me, and I cannot talk to you because of how you have personally hurt me." We are compelled to discover the truth, especially in this instance, because we want to understand something about the nature of reality, yes, because we want to understand something about ourselves, yes, something about the other person, yes, all of these possibilities are true, but something even deeper is at work. Upon discovering why our friend stopped communicating with us, we could potentially make amends. We could, in discovering the truth, realize where we fell short morally, and we could change. Perhaps we could reconcile with our friend, and barring that, we would know definitively how to behave in the future to prevent something like this from happening with other friends. And that would be wonderful and glorious for us. And so we're presented with this really remarkable symmetry between knowing what is true and knowing what the right thing to do is. Now, goodness is a rather broad ontological category, but there is a dimension of goodness which involves right action, knowing what we should do. And in a very real and tangible way, knowing the truth helps us discover what is good. That is a very remarkable insight. And it's one that I think needs to be contemplated more deeply. Tell me what you think. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and maybe I'll interact with you. Have a wonderful day.